Hello everyone. Coming up with this movie was not an easy task. Before I could actually start working on the film, I have to work on pre-production stage, which starts with doing lots of research on the topic. My film is about trypanophobia. It is the term given for the fear of needle and all the medical procedures involving needles. As a kid and now as an adult, the only thing which remains constant for me is this fear of injections. Going to hospitals or seeing a doctor has always been very difficult for me. Whenever an injection is advised, my heart rate increases all of a sudden, which invokes anxiety. I have always been mocked by the people for this fear of mine. They think I am just creating a scene and ask me to grow up. After going through lots of articles and research papers, I came to a conclusion that there is a huge difference between fear and phobia. Fears are something that every single person has to deal with. It is normal and natural to feel anxious about certain things, especially when it involves large needles coming into your skin. Whereas phobias are technically anxiety disorder that presents much more extreme symptoms and feelings. Sometimes people ask me, if you fear injection this much, then how did you get your piercing? It's today when I know that a needle has different phobias related to it. Trypanophobia is the fear of injections and not the fear of any pointed or sharp objects. There are several different phobias related to a needle, such as fear of pins, fear of sharp objects, vaccines, etc. Resistive fear of needles occurs when the underlying fear involves not simply needles or injections but also being controlled. It typically stems from repressive upbringing and poor handling of prior needle procedures. For example, forced physical or emotional restraint. Its symptoms include dizziness, fainting, anxiety, insomnia, panic attacks, high blood pressure, racing heart rate, etc. I made a mind map from all those points which I have collected from my research, which helped me to develop 3 different stories, which was all examples of the events from my life. Before finalizing on the story of final film, I even created few sketches which could go with my story, like those of vaccination camps where my mother used to take me regularly for different types of shots, or me hiding either inside the bed or locking myself up in the bathroom. Whatever came to my mind, I drew that. After finalizing on the final story, I have to work on the characters which would be there in the film. The main protagonist is a girl named as Bunbun, who is a 12-year kid who lives in a tiny town, Chhatarpur. She is a chubby kid with brown hair and big eyes. Bunbun has a phobia of injections. She avoids visiting the doctor, but whenever she went to see a doctor, in order to avoid needles, she describes her symptoms as it ended just before reaching the clinic, and when a doctor writes a prescription, she repeatedly says not to mention injections in it. Yeah, that's me. These are model sheet, expression sheet, and poses and gestures. Another character in my film is Simmi, mother of Bunbun, who is a 40-year-old woman. She usually wears dresses covering her knees and leaves her hair untied. She is a housewife and owns a small business at the same time. Because of working day and night, she got joint pains which made her hard to walk. Model sheet and expression sheet of the mother. The third and the last character is a doctor, Dr. Chikki. He is a ferocious looking busy older man with dark unibrows who works in Apna hospital. He has big hump and because of his appearance, people get easily frightened. Model sheet and expression sheet of the character. After working on characters, another step was working on the storyboard. Working on storyboard was not an easy task, as I have to come up with multiple storyboards considering what my movie wanted. That also means I have to make several animatic based on each storyboard. The story would be more clear when I'll show my film. These are few of the backgrounds which I made for my final film. After each and everything was done, I have to record audio for my film. I was home while I was recording the audio. The protagonist in my movie is a girl who is afraid of injections. She is mostly seen crying throughout the movie, and I have to record how a kid cries when they are in extreme pain. While I was recording that, my mother ran straight to my room thinking something happened to me. While I made my first animatic and progressed to another one, I got several feedbacks from my guide as well as the professors which I worked on until and unless I got what my movie wanted. The first step in production was cleaning all the rough animations and then coloring it. The animation was specially targeted for kids, so there has to be lots of colors. In order to emphasize the character, background was later dulled a bit so that the characters speak out of the frame. The animatic was done in Krita, backgrounds were illustrated in Photoshop, and later all the scenes were composited in Premiere Pro. I wanted to make this film as I want to teach people through my film that it is something serious that needs to be dealt with. Instead of mocking them, we can help them by getting it diagnosed and getting proper treatment for it. Most people with trypanophobia are recommended some kind of psychotherapy as their treatment. I wanted to make this in animation because it is watched by both kids and adults. Kids should know that this fear can be talked about or discussed with their parents, and also parents should know that this is something serious that needs to be dealt with. So that next time when their kid runs away from the injection, it is their prime role not to drag them or be harsh on them because it creates a certain type of fear that at one point turns into a phobia. Concludingly, I would sincerely like to thank my guide Professor Sumant Rao for his immense guidance and support, and I would also like to thank Professor Fani Titali, Professor Shilpa Ranade, Professor Mazhar Kamran, and Professor Aditi Chitre for their valuable suggestions throughout the course. Thank you, professors.